free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, look at the links and email below. The molt of the last flights. What do I mean by normal circumstances? First of all, healthy pigeons in a state of complete rest, neither racing nor breeding. Properly cared for, healthy pigeons go through the molt very easily. In that article we talked about rest. Indeed, around the middle of September the smartest fanciers have completely stopped racing. This is necessary if they want to be in good shape for the next season. They make a smart move in allowing their next year's team to rest in preparation for the big molt. Not every fancier can make the decision to stop racing. The same fanciers are the first to start again in the spring. How many good pigeons they have sacrificed or ruined to satisfy their taste of victory. Others, who still have a chance for a championship, will still basket their birds even if they are below par. Half in the molt, they are put in the basket. Maybe they'll make the prize list. But further in this chapter I will explain the problem they may run into, even when these molting birds win first prize. Once we made up our minds to stop them, nobody could change our mind, regardless of the cost. We proved that in 1959. We were leading in several championships, and on the 27th of July, 2 Sundays before the end, we remated our widowers 2 days after they had won a maximum of prize positions. We still, in spite of the early withdrawal, won first champion. Rather than overload them before the molt, we decided to rest our team. That rest was needed after a difficult season, in which only the regulars came in front. That is my opinion. When the food is well balanced, there hasn't been too much breeding and the loft is kept clean and dim, the change of feathers is normal, regular and completed by the desired date. Those of you who have handled a well-feathered, silky champion, know what I mean. It is this rich quality which assures smooth flying. The molt reflects the bird's health. Therefore, an excellent molt is a sign of excellent health. The form shows up faster and the better physical strength will assure it lasts longer. These birds give the most, with the least wear and tear. A wooden box of a bird, with hard dry flights and feathers like straw, goes through a regular molt too. With the best care he will not grow a nicer coat than the original. Pails of oily seeds won't help. In rainy weather he has to stop flying, his feathers cannot keep the water out. I am talking about pigeons that inherited these qualities. During the final stage of the molt, when the last 2 or 3 flights are developing, is the crucial period. If you closely inspect the molt of the new wing and tail flights, you will soon discover that your pigeons bear few traces from the races. Shortcomings are written in their last 4 flights and show up after the season. A few marked flights will not prevent them from racing, but they show there was a problem. Next year's racing is risky if the molt is incomplete. Why I cannot explain it any other way, because these pigeons had enough strength during the last summer months, but they ran short toward the end of the molt. Maybe the food ratio was wrong? I do not mean one should feed them a high percentage of peas or oily seeds, that's not necessary. The results of that may be worse than the original problem itself. We know that a pigeon does not molt all of its feathers. Concerning the molt of the flights, everybody knows that there are exceptions to the rule. But nobody will deny that one cannot be certain that a pigeon will fly as well next year as it did last year. This is especially true when 1 or 2 tail flights are not molted. A shortage of strength is often the cause. Pigeons are exhausted by driving too long, too much fighting, or by overcrowding so that they have to fight for survival and actually eat less, to such an extent that they are run down, and of course it shows in the molt. A bad molt may be caused by untimely breeding. Especially with those who flew late in the year, because this late breeding does not give them a chance to rest. Again they have to draw on their reserves and the normal demands of nature cannot be answered. It is very clear that the skill of the manager plays a big role. It is his duty to make sure that he does not require too much in August and September, so they can finish the molt properly and prepare for the next season. In our lofts at Borgerhout, where we had no problems with all these listed possibilities, they were stopped early, fed a good variety of food, and were exercised once a day. When we exercised them twice a day they flew too long. For fanciers who want to test a few young hens, this long flying is alright. However, I know a few so-called specialists in the late series, those who only shine the last 2 months of the season. In full season, with good pigeons, they just can't make it. Still, they have good lofts and good standard birds. The problem lies in these late races. It's a question of too much work too late and therefore not being able to recuperate before the molt sets in. The beginning of the molt is usually good, but towards the end their vitality is gone. The specialists? They pay a high price for their rashness. It is not only the wing flights and tail feathers that suffer from this. The down molt in particular leaves a lot to be desired. With healthy pigeons this starts immediately after the flights. It is equally important. All serious fanciers pay attention to it. When the down is not molted at the right time, a serious mistake has been made. Birds that still have their old coats on find no mercy in our eyes. We either eliminate them or let them rest the next year, they won't fly. Indeed, even if it happens to be an extraordinary bird, the handicap will still be too much. In August, when it has been really warm for a long time, such birds may be tried again. But if the owner wants to win back lost ground, he risks repeating the same mistake. The best remedy is a full year of complete rest. Then the pigeon has a chance to really shine in the following season's races when the very best birds are in full swing. Are mating or contemplating mating their pigeons, and thoughts go towards how best to breed winning pigeons. I have been asked to pen my thoughts on the subject of breeding, so with a guaranteed reading audience of one, I will give you my thoughts on the subject. There are several methods of breeding pigeons and many theories to support or otherwise the merits of each method. This article will outline a pragmatic rather than a theoretical thesis approach to the subject that I hope will be of benefit or interest to the fancier. The first thing I will do is state the obvious, and that is no method of breeding is cast in stone or offers any guarantees. I feel it is a matter of finding a system that improves your chances of success. The second consideration is to have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, for example short distance winners, national marathon winners, good looking and tractable pigeons, etc. The third consideration is to keep records to help you know what you are doing, what you have done, the results of certain activities, etc. So having decided what you wish to achieve with your pigeons, short, medium, or long distance, and at what level, club, federation, combine or national, these ambitions will dictate the type and quality of your stock pigeons. It is probably possible to eventually achieve success within different pigeons, by continuously using the basket to select your pigeons. Eventually one will have a loft of pigeons that will be able to compete, as there are some good genes in all modern racing pigeons, and if you are selective with them over years, one will eventually have some decent pigeons. There is one major problem with this approach: it can take many years. I feel that winning genes will tell, and it is better to start with stock pigeons from a proven source. I personally would start with 1 pigeons from a loft that is currently winning at the level that I wish to compete. I see little point in starting at a disadvantage. If a fancier is not winning with his pigeons, then your chances of winning with them are even less. I also suggest you get pigeons from a fancier that is winning regularly. One result means very little that can indicate one good pigeon or one lucky result. I have a preference for a fancier with a medium to small population of pigeons, as they cannot afford the room to house indifferent pigeons, and the average quality is likely to be high. 2 pigeons from a fancier I like and trust. With the best will in the world, even the most ethical and talented fancier cannot guarantee their pigeons will win or breed winners, but some will try to give you a fair chance with the pigeons they supply, and often provide a word or two of wisdom that can help towards your success. 3 pigeons that physically conform to my idea of beauty and athletic perfection. Your pigeons will take a lot of your time, so it is better to have pigeons that you admire and in which have some confidence will achieve your racing goals. In my case, I have a mantra pedigree with performance. I like to see a pedigree in which the ancestors and immediate parents have won races at federation level or higher. I will comment later on some exceptions. I also have a standard for the physical type of pigeon I am looking for. That for me are they must be pleasing on the eye and have the attributes I think are needed to win races. This is purely subjective. I have read many articles written by famous fanciers who talk about the wing, the pectoral muscles, feather quality, tight vent, strong back, buoyancy, eye sign, etc. They are all very interesting but slightly conflicting with Mont details as to the difference between sprint pigeon and marathon pigeon wings and the various lengths of keel, etc. The differences between eye signs of racing and breeding pigeons. I can only surmise that a good pigeon may well have many of these assets, but obviously not one asset on its own is conclusive proof that a pigeon containing that feature will win. Otherwise the sport would be easy. One would simply look for pigeons with the magic feature and corner the market of winning pigeons. I am pleased the sport is more interesting than that, and although I am pretty sure that I subconsciously use many such criteria, but I am only aware of a few. These are: when I look at the pigeon, it must look special. It stands out from the other pigeons, full of vitality. This often means I often pick up larger pigeons than I generally like, as somehow they, especially the cocks, often look more grand. I really like pigeons that are medium size, full of vitality, glowing with health, and are muscular. I like them to resemble a wrestler, a ball of flexible compact muscle that is perfectly balanced. The buoyancy I only take into account if the pigeon is fit for racing, off-season, or some young birds are not buoyant and it is your job to feed and train them so they acquire buoyancy. I like good soft silky feathering. I like the keel to be shallow or medium depth, as deep keels do not seem so streamlined, although it could be argued there is more room for muscle and many deep-keeled pigeons have won races. I like a step between the secondary and primary flights, although I have handled many good short distance pigeons that have a very small step. I like rich eyes reflecting the vitality of the pigeon but do not follow any particular eye sign theory. As soon as I pick them up I will sense the elasticity of the muscles, the quality of the feathering and the balance. I sometimes think that when looking at the wing, the eyes and feeling the vent etc., I am going through the motions as I have made up my mind before with the look and in the first few seconds after I pick them up sensing the musculature, balance and quality of feathering. Anyway, I give pigeons between 3 to 5 stars on physical attributes. I then look at the pedigree. This can often come first, but I think I can be influenced about how I feel about a pigeon from its pedigree, so it might be best to shortlist your pigeons from physical attributes and then make a final selection from the pedigree. In the pedigree I look for winners on both sides, ideally at a similar distance to that I wish to win at. I am happy to see the same winner named on both sides of the pedigree. I prefer to have pigeons direct from winners, although there is in my experience little evidence to suggest that brothers or sisters to winners breed more or less winners than the winners themselves. I then give the pigeons between 3 and 5 stars on the strength of the pedigree. The next step is you must give the pigeon a fair trial in training and racing. That is the golden rule of pigeon racing. You simply have to be selective to have any chance of winning. I give pigeons 6 to 10 points for performance. Any pigeon with less than 3 points for physical conformity or pedigree would normally be culled unless they score 8 points or more for performance. Pigeons with less than 6 points for performance would be culled irrespective of pedigree or physical conformity. I would like to say that a fair performance trial is over 2 or more years. However, with the cost of keeping pigeons, I do not think one should keep young birds that in your opinion will not make the levels of performance you desire. This is why many fanciers train and race their young birds hard. This is to give them every opportunity to show their performance capability. For example, a pigeon that consistently is out of the top 1/3 of your pigeons in training and racing is unlikely to make the grade even in later years. I would suggest that your training and racing records are key to selection. They will provide a level of performance over time, with the pigeon in different condition, over different distances and being measured against its peers and other pigeons. If one takes young birds as an example, in the first year they will have a minimum of training tosses before the first race, then say 6 races and then a further 10 training tosses between races. This will provide the young bird with 26 opportunities to show some sort of racing form. I split my scoring into 3. I award 3 points for pigeons in the top 1/3, 2 points for the middle 1/3 and first point for the bottom 1/3. You can obviously add extra points for winning a club race or federation. At the end of the season I simply add up the points and only select those on the top third, half or 2/3 RDS depending how many I have room for in my loft. NB, those you are considering for breeders must obviously have greater number than 6 from 10 in your performance analysis. NB, in general, to succeed you must look for an opportunity to reduce your number of pigeons, i.e. you are striving for excellence. Do not look for a reason to keep a pigeon. This selection starts before they are born. If the eggs are not perfect and smooth, it is unlikely to develop into sound offspring. If any young bird is always in a mess, it is either ill or its parents cannot feed it properly. Again, it will not develop into a champion. All EBs should be able to be taken from their parents within 28 days. If they are still dependent after that time, they are not likely to make the grade. All winning pigeons have fantastic constitution. They recover quickly from races and exercise and always seem in good health. Pigeons that regularly seem to be under the weather or need medication will not make champion stock or racers. When evaluating your breeding stock performance, as I mentioned earlier, they must be given a fair trial. I would suggest that this is 10 offspring over 3 seasons, ideally with different mates, unless you find a winning goldmine partnership earlier. If at the end of that period the breeder has not produced a winner, then frankly it is a luxury you cannot afford in your stock loft, if you want to win. So when we have some pigeons, we set about breeding some winners. There are several methods and they go by the common names of line breeding, inbreeding, outcrossing, super breeders. I will briefly describe each system and add my comments.